Oh boy, this one was a tough one. I had a lot of resistance in the brain today. A lot of resistance. I want to show you car, driver's seat. So the resistance to the training today was just one excuse after another, right? The main one was like, okay, I've only got 30 minutes to the next client. If I by the time I get Patty ready, the camera ready, and everything's sorted out, I'm gonna be rushing everything. So really I had like 30 minutes and the walk takes about 10 minutes. And I convinced myself that, it's just gonna take too long to get stuff ready and sort things out. And I just went through that whole thing in my head. And it reminded me, my client, Mary today, was talking about how, when people connect with different monologues in their head, like interior monologues, you kind of share the same feelings. Like we all have to overcome this resistance every day to something we don't want to do, something uncomfortable. And I wanted to show you the cars because the car has a driver's seat, and it has the steering wheel, and it has the gear shifter and whatnot. And if you think of the body as the car and your mind is sort of the driver as your mind, then you are in control of the car. The thing is, you just can't get the car to up and go right away. That's the thing. It's a bit tough. You have to get in there, and if you're from Canada or anywhere north, actually, it doesn't really matter from Canada, but anywhere where there's like resistance to getting the car started. For example, in Canada, typically we have to plug the car in, and it's cold, and sometimes there's frost in the windshield, so you gotta scrape the frost off the windshield. And sometimes there's moisture, on the inside, the outside, and it fogs up, so you have to preheat the car. So sometimes you plug it in, sometimes you preheat it, sometimes you scrape it off, and you're sitting there and it's like a frozen box. And I remember this blue van I had when I was really young, and we would try to start the thing, and we'd turn the key over in here, tee, 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 and you'd hit the gas, woo, 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 and you'd have to try to work to get this thing started. And sometimes you'd get your friends out, you'd push the car, if you had like a manual transmission, and you could push the car and you can set it into gear from neutral, and it would kickstart it, basically. Well, not kickstart it, but it would, I don't know what the word would be. But anyways, you would do it with a bit of tricks. Sometimes you got to get someone, in the neighborhood, or maybe you're parked somewhere, it's too cold, you had to get someone another battery to plug in, and you got to figure out the reds and the whites, the positives and the negatives, and try not to shock yourself, right? You gotta get your right clothes on. You make sure the car is filled up with gas. You have to make sure the fluids are filled up. There's a lot to starting a vehicle. Your mind has to do all that. It just doesn't hop in the thing and it's artificial intelligence and it gets going, right? So we can imagine there's like this advanced race or civilization of extraterrestrials, and they hop in their vehicle and it's connected to the body, so they just mentally go, okay, let's move, and the thing moves, and they move the craft with their minds or their bodies. It's not like that for us regular humans. We gotta clean the car, we gotta get the thing ready, and we gotta get it started. So that's what it feels like sometimes when you're getting a workout. You're like, well, I got to do this, I got to do that, and you got to prepare for it, right? And that becomes a hassle instead of just hopping in and then going, or you have some chauffeur that shows up at your door. Maybe in the future that's what happens. You get this, artificial intelligence vehicle that shows up with your temperature set and your water's ready for you and your outfit's ready for you, and it's got the destination ready to go. Get stopped off at the store to grab your snacks, so maybe there's a time in that it takes place, but now it takes a while to get everything started. And that's where you can share the same suffering as everyone else. Is like unless you really, really love something, it turns out to be a bit of a hassle to get things going. Come on, Patty. So think of it as like, if you're the driver behind the car, right, that's your consciousness, you have to practice like getting that routine ready to start the car up. And just using an extreme example like Sudbury, Ontario or something like that, Caper, Ontario, where you got to get all the outfit on. Like, you have to have your mitts, you have to have your toque or your beanie on, you got to have your neck warmer, you got your long johns. It's cold out there when you're trying to start that thing, and it may not start. So think of that when you're trying to get things going. It's more about the routine and the habit where you can finally succeed. And hey, unfortunately, it's not all roses and lollipops and sunshine and rainbows. You have to go and step into something a bit uncomfortable to get things going. But I mean, everyone knows as soon as you get going, right, you're on that open highway, everything is sunshines and rainbows for a bit. But it's just getting things going is the tough part. Now, we talked about 3 habits that lead to 4 different diseases that lead to 50% of deaths. 3, 4, 50. So tobacco use, lack of exercise, sedentary life, and poor diet leads to lung issues, heart issues, diabetes, and cancer, which kills 50% of people. So this theme this week will be lungs and how powerful the lungs are as far as an engine or fuel. Hey boys. And then, so the lungs are very unique because they look exactly like a tree. The way that fractal pattern goes, because that's the way energy flows. It tries to flow from A to B, but it gets intercepted by the rest of things and gets derailed. So then it takes the path of least resistance. So the universe is lazy by nature, very lazy, and that's why it looks like that. That's why the tree pattern looks like that. That's why the river pattern, your lungs and your nerves and your fascia, they look like that. They look like a kind of like a river or cracked glass, or the mushroom cloud pattern. These are chaotic fractal patterns. So when you breathe in the oxygen, O2. When you breathe out carbon dioxide, CO2. When you hold your breath, you're feeling like your body's resistance to the CO2. So we are walking carbon emissions. Everything is carbon based. And you have a tidal volume, which is very unique. I like that word. It's like a tidal wave. So tidal volume is kind of like the chart when you measure the inhale and exhale and how much volume or how much gas you can get in the lungs. So, using the metaphor with the car again, you put gas in the car, which is oils, fossil fuels, and some other things. To get the car moving, you need fuel, like oxygen, to get your heart, which is like the engine, right, moving. So that's a key feature. Like, so we share this interesting relationship with the trees, where you 100% need its oxygen, and it 100% needs your carbon dioxide. So you're a direct symbiotic relationship, and it's amazing. It really is how it keeps you going. If you want to figure it out, try to go underwater for more than 30 seconds to a minute. Try to hold your breath, right? Try to go in space for a bit. They need space helmets because there's no oxygen up there. So the first step with the lungs is to realize that there is a tidal volume, and the more you practice the breathing, whether it's voluntary or involuntary, you're going to increase that tidal volume, which gives you a better output. That's your engine. And how do you lose weight? You literally breathe it out. All right? So this week will be all about the lungs, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Share with your friends if it helped. And when in doubt, work out.